Hi, it's KCCK's Culture Crawl. I'm Dennis Green, and this is the second in our series of 4 special Culture Crawls where we talk to artists involved in KCCK's Jazz Under the Stars. With me today, Paul Lichty. Paul, welcome.
Thank you very much, Dennis.
And it's not a huge coincidence that Paul Lichty will be performing in the Paul Lichty Jazz Orchestra.
I'll be waving my hands at least, yeah.
It's great to have you here. You've been a guest on the show several times. We've talked definitely about the your band, but also people will remember you as one of the members of BYO Brass.
Yep,
Been
absolutely.
in here several times for that. Mm-hmm. You are not only performing the band, but the music director, so a lot of the arrangements and some of the originals.
Yeah.
So you keep pretty busy in Central Iowa.
Very much so, yeah.
And well, I also want to talk about some of those other activities as we go too, but let's start with the Paul Lichty Jazz Orchestra. It's all your original tunes and arrangements, pretty much.
For the most part.
Yeah, for the most part.
Yeah, no, it started, it was kind of cool. Yeah, I back in 2018 was when the band first started, and there was people like Mike Conrad and Brian Martin who were starting up their own big bands around that time too, playing their own original music. I was like, well, why don't I give it a shot as well? And I just contacted all the people that I could. Then they all said yes. I was like, wow, okay, sounds great, let's do it.
And that was while you were a student at UNI, or soon thereafter, right?
Soon thereafter, actually, I did one cruise ship contract after I graduated, and then it was in the vacation after my first contract is when we had our first gig, and that's kind of we would do gigs whenever I'd be home from the cruise ship, basically.
There has been a really fun culture at the University of Northern Iowa, encouraging the students in the program to compose and arrange, and particularly for big band, which you do not see every place.
Right. Yeah, it's really unique there. When I was at school, it was Bob Washington and Chris Mertz, who do so much writing for big band, and then, of course, Mike Conrad, who succeeds Bob, who also is such a phenomenal writer for big band, too. And the fact that not only were they programming their own works, but also getting all these student compositions on their regularly scheduled concerts, such as on a very routine basis, and the fact that they would record all those compositions as well at the end of the year for their album project, it was just like, well, you're given this opportunity to get your music played by a really, really phenomenal band on a regular basis, and that's kind of was one of the big motivating factors behind why I decided to write, and why many of us wanted to write so much, because we knew that our music would get played and workshopped and everything like that. The culture around that is really, really special and unique, and I credit a lot of my drive to do, or my start to, write and all this stuff, really thanks to my teachers in the school.
It's not easy to keep a big band together. I know that, you only do a few gigs every year, and you do, how many albums is this now? 3?
This specific band has only done 1 album, but then BYO Brass has done an album too. So I've been involved with a few different recording projects, but yeah, just the Dark Soul album that PLJO recorded was recorded before COVID and then released right after COVID.
But even being kind of an occasional project for most of the members, the logistics of getting a big band together, and of course you're playing original charts. It's not like there's an existing book of standards that everybody kind of knows. Right. You're really kind of starting from ground zero on a regular basis.
Oh yeah, definitely learned a lot about how to be organized for sure. But that being said, though, it's while it is a lot of work on the back end, but I know the musicians appreciate it. I get a lot of feedback, from the musicians in the band for, just how well the organization is, and how easy it is just to, just show up and do the work, right? It's and also musically speaking, even though there's a lot of work on the back end, it's totally worth it because it's a phenomenal band, and it's hard to believe that it has gone on for this long, and the fact that we're still getting plenty of gigs and new kind of projects also to be getting handed in our lap, collaborations with Wave Cage and, Annie Kemble, the vocalist from Des Moines, and our Halloween show that we do every single year. It's really turned into a lot, but it's fun,
There are those who have an attitude toward new big band music, kind of like new classical music, I don't know any of these songs. So for people who may not, who haven't heard of the band, talk about your compositional style and how you make your work accessible to people who, when they see a big band are thinking, Basie standards, and then they get something entirely different.
Oh, entirely. Yeah, you're not going to hear any Basie at the Paul Lichty Jazz Orchestra, or really anything that's that Basie adjacent. But really, I mean, I think, a lot of my compositional heroes are, Maria Schneider and Darcy James Argue, and those who really kind of compose these really big works for big band that are oftentimes through composed, and they just go in a lot of different directions, and have a lot of different really amazing textures, and are also really tell a really cool story in the composition. And for me, like when I start composing a piece, that's the first thing that I need to ask myself is, what story am I telling, right? And usually, at least this was definitely the case back when I was in college, where it'd be a very specific, like, this just happened in my life, I'm going to write a piece of music about it, right? And having that story kind of planned out kind of helps with a lot of like the big picture decisions, like what kind of harmonies to use, what kind of, just what sections, where is the chart going to go, and how can I musically, kind of represent that. And I feel, one of the things that I take pride in, or one of my favorite compliments that I've gotten post shows is how, like, I always make sure I let the audience know what that story is and ahead of time, and be pretty specific and about that, and it gives them something to latch onto, and while they're listening to it, right? And that is, I mean, I think that's one of the reasons why people do enjoy the band and the music, is because they have that story going, and they can follow along, and even though that hopefully even if I didn't tell the story of the tune, hopefully they still enjoy it regardless. But that kind of helps them, especially if they have maybe some hesitations or just like not sure really what to expect, so.
Well, that's really important because especially for an audience, some of whom are going to be hearing these songs for the first time, inviting them in is key to helping them enjoy it.
Right, and there's some pretty wild stuff too, so it helps having having an explanation.
Has the lineup of the band been fairly consistent over its life?
Decently consistent, yeah. There's people who kind of move away and all that stuff. That tends to happen, but in the first several, I guess, years of the band's existence, I did try to have as consistent of a personnel as possible because, especially in those early gigs where we're performing almost exclusively my original music, a lot of that stuff is quite challenging. So having that, pretty consistent personnel has been, or was really helpful. But then, when we start getting festival gigs where we really can't negotiate when the gig is going to be, it's like, hey, you can play at this date, can you do it or not? Well, I'm going to say yes and get whoever I can. So that those kind of gigs have, and just with the frequency of the gigs also increasing, there has been a need for bringing in more people and subs and everything like that. So I kind of view it as like the family of the band has increased quite a bit, especially in the last 2 years. So, which has been really great. It's a real treat and privilege to be able to have a lot of people who want to play in the group, right? Some consistent members ever since those first gigs, though, have included Chris Jensen on the drums, Antonio Garza on lead trumpet, Anthony Williams has played many gigs with us, and then Chris Mertz, Simon Harding. He was on I remember Simon being on the very first gig, and that was when I first met him too. I was like, oh my gosh, who is this guy?
That's got to even 10 years gone. That's got to make you feel good to have some of your teachers still want to be in the band.
Yeah, and also it's even though they're the nicest people, it's actually still really nerve-wracking, just like standing and rehearsing this. Like, wow, I cannot believe I'm in this situation. But yeah, it's an amazing feeling.
So what are we going to hear at Jazz Under the Stars? Now you have, talked about, you don't have the big book of standards, but the Lichty book has gotten pretty large over the last nearly a decade.
Yeah, yes, it has. I mean, I haven't tallied up how many charts that the band has ever played, but it's got to be, well over 50 at this point, if not more. And what's on deck for Jazz Under the Stars is kind of actually a good encapsulation of almost everything that we've done in the last last several years. So we have some selections from our first album, our only album.
Oh, I love Dark Soul. When you first brought that into us, it was we knew immediately that this has got some legs.
Oh yeah, we got a couple, at least 2 or 3 charts from that we're going to perform. We've got a nice amount of original music that I've written since that album release, including a couple of different commissions that I've had, including one that I did for Marion High School just a couple of years ago that featured Anthony Williams for the Corridor Jazz Project.
Yes, I did that at the Corridor Jazz.
Yep.
I remember that tune. Yeah.
We'll be bringing that one back as well. So yeah, some new-ish original music, including one piece that I wrote for BYO Brass, also that I expanded for big band. And
that's good. That's good. Make those things work in more than one venue. Smart.
And to be honest, like the 2 original tunes that I wrote for BYO Brass are, I would say they're definitely like Paul Lichty tunes, not like BYO Brass tunes. But we definitely have made them work, and they as a result, they'll obviously work in both groups really well. And then I was able to sneak in a couple of other kind of like special treats, I suppose. We've got one of my favorite projects that we've been able to do with the band is do a collaboration show with Wave Cage. I was able to get one of the tunes we're going to be playing for the set will be a Wave Cage tune that I've expanded for big band. And then one really fun annual tradition that the band has started up is a Halloween jazz show that we do at Noche every single Halloween, including this upcoming Halloween.
Not too early to get that on the calendar.
Of course not. If you're not making your Halloween plans already, then are you a fan of the holiday? So we've got our next performance after Jazz Under the Stars will be our Halloween show on Halloween night on the 31st, which is a Saturday at Noche, where the whole band gets in Halloween costumes, including myself, and then the audience is also encouraged to show up in costumes, and whichever costume I like the best gets a $50 gift card to Noche, and it's always a really good time.
Is there a theme to the band's costumes, or does everybody just do their own thing?
So in the last couple of years, they've just done their own thing. I overheard, or maybe this was a secret that I wasn't supposed to know, but I think one of the sections is planning something involving. Actually, I'm not going to give it away, but there might be some section costumes this year. But for that Halloween jazz show, it's kind of a mix of some of my like darker, like angrier original music, which is actually kind of a lot of it. But and then I have arranged some famous movie music and for like jazz setting, which was really really fun. And then a good amount of like Lady Gaga charts also from the Mother Monster herself. I kind of like jazzified some of her stuff that ends up working out pretty well.
A lot of different, Postmodern Jukebox has played around with her. Her music is surprisingly versatile in terms of translating it into different looks.
Well, she's an extremely versatile musician herself. I mean,
her own work with Tony Bennett.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I was able to sneak in one Lady Gaga chart in this upcoming Jazz Under the Stars. So if that's the first time Lady Gaga's been played at Jazz Under the Stars, I'll take that as a win.
I don't think it has been. We're we're hipper than you might think sometimes.
Heck yeah. Cheers to that.
You said you're going to maybe do a little preview of a tune, one of the tunes from the Halloween show?
Yes, yeah. So the Lady Gaga tune
will be a little
preview.
Okay,
yep.
Excellent.
Yep.
Jazz Under the Stars this Thursday. Once again, it's week number 2 with the Paul Lichty Jazz Orchestra. Our opening band will be Jazz on 76th, which is a group of recent graduates from Prairie High School.
Great.
In Cedar Rapids.
And can I give a full rundown of the personnel of this gig?
Oh, yeah. I meant to come back around to that. Thank you. Thank you for holding me accountable.
All good. Well, they're just so good. They got to get their recognition. In the sax section, we've got Gabe Scheid on lead alto and Tyler Utter also playing alto. Chris Mertz playing tenor saxophone along with Simon Harding. And then Lynn Hart will be playing bari saxophone. Trombones, Anthony Williams, Rich Med, Colin Kruko, and Michael Stowe on bass trombone. Trumpets will be Antonio Garza, and then Colton Whetstone and Kyle Marlin, Dave Rezick, and then joining the band for the first time is Marion native Andrew Piper, also one of my bandmates in BYO Brass. Super excited to finally have Andrew on this hit. And then in the rhythm section will be Elvis Phillips, who composed Dark Soul, the title track of the album. Chris Jensen on the drums, of course. We got Vivian Shanley again on bass. Vivian played with us for the first time for Iowa City Pride and just knocked it out of the park, and cannot wait to have her back. And then Elena Ringsby will be on piano.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, I was kind of hoping, because she just wrapped up her master's degree at Indiana, and when I asked her to do the gig, she was like, yeah, most likely, but like I don't know exactly where life is gonna be, what job I'm gonna get after master's, but thankfully, well, I was able to get her. So yeah, it'll be the first time Elena's sat in the piano chair as well for us too.
Excellent.
So it'll be a great band.
Well, and of course, we're working Vivian very hard this year for Jazz Under the Stars. She was with Joey last week. She'll be with you guys, and then she's leading her own band on the 20th.
Awesome.
So.
Oh yeah, she's incredible.
It's the Paul Lichty Jazz Orchestra at Jazz Under the Stars. Our opening band will be Jazz on 76th, as I said, a group of recently graduated Prairie High School students led by Ben Hollinger. Of course, all the usual, the food, the fun, playground nearby for the kids. Our food trucks will be there as well, and we hope that you will be too. Paul, thanks so much for coming in today. Really looking forward to this. Before we go, if people want to connect with you online, different gigs for your bands, want to know more about your charts, your activities, how do they do that?
Yeah, the easiest way is paulichtymusic.com. Yeah, I got all my gig information there, and bio and everything that you'll want to know about my musical endeavors, as well as all the social medias. I got a YouTube channel, Paul Lichty Music, Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff. So, yep.
Looking forward to a great night again at Jazz Under the Stars. Paul, thanks for coming in today.
Appreciate the time.
You can hear the Culture Crawl live on the radio most weekdays at 10:30, on demand at kcck.org/culture, or subscribe using your favorite podcast player. Watch our videos on the KCCK Facebook and YouTube channels. Our producer is Lydia Kilgore. The Culture Crawl theme is composed by Vivian Shanley. I'm Dennis Green, and I'll talk to you later.